Get the
But
piece.
the hundreds of people in Padre Farm when that whale was caught last Saturday before
Yeah.
is it speaks for itself.
Ah.
And you see the number of tourists that were there trying to get up front to take photographs of the whale and
Yes.
so on. I would tell you straight, I'm no pro at these fancy phones and so on. But I hold up my poor little stupid phone in the air and say I'm trying to take some photograph. I took pictures, but all I could see on my pictures was arms, hats, heads, body parts.
All right.
No
A
way.
lot of people trying to get.
Because everybody jostling and it's just a mass of people.
Look, I think this is even more than it has bypassed. Even though we are a Christian nation and we have certain religions, persons who do not agree with it,
And I respect
it
people's
is
rights.
within the right still. There are persons who are eager to see it being done as a culture.
The culture,
Because
historical tradition.
look, we have persons who couldn't even compose themselves when they hear the shouting. It was like, what is going on?
I'm sorry for the pastor who was trying to finish his sermon in Pakistan.
I want to give a joke, Mr. B. Yeah? Hope you're not gonna let me. Sorry, yeah. Hope you're not let me.
Hoping
I heard.
victimizing no religion here.
Mr. B, I heard that half of the Project Farm Adventist Church left. That's
That is not true. That is not true.
Okay,
But just saying that
the
they
brother
was
spending his position.
they were just excited to see this action in front of them, and I realized that this community is being one in this topic. First time in my life, I won't tell you how old I be. In my 30-something years on this island,
Sing it, brother. Sing it.
I've never seen, if you're Adventist, Pentecostal, Roman Catholic, everybody have one view.
People are very unified on this issue.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Should anybody try to mess with this, I think they're going to be messing with 5,000 plus people.
Yes, that's right.
Strictly.
That's well said.
Well, good evening to the listeners.
Welcome to you, Chevy.
Hi.
Hi.
The only female among the gentlemen. I just decided to pop in. But from
We are seeing a change for the first time.
but from a tourism standpoint, I'm a tour guide, and our culture is very unique because when we go out and we explain to the tourists that we have the tradition of whale hunting, you're like, oh really? Can you tell us more? That type of thing. And so I would explain to them that we're allowed under the International Whaling Commission that we're allowed to hunt 4 humpback whales. And I said to them, sometimes none is caught. So I said, if none is caught this year, we're not allowed to catch 8 next year.
No.
We're only allowed to catch the 4. And they're very intrigued. We even sing the whaling song for them. And they find it really interesting because sometimes they would come and say, we would like to see where it's been cut up and so on. So we point out to them, sample key, depends on where we are, we would point it out. The other day when the whale was caught, a lot of tourists were very interested. I even saw pictures of tourists on the whale.
Of course they are. Every time around.
On the whale?
Every time around.
On the whale?
On the whale.
Yes.
On the
They
wheel.
were getting all
So
involved.
let me get
It's not a whale. It was a big fish.
let me get
It's a
straight,
big fish.
Mr. B.
A couple.
On the whale.
Yes.
On
A
the
couple
whale, yes.
went on the whale with the little pocket knife. Cut off. I came ashore after cutting the little piece with a handful of meat.
Yeah.
And one of the locals said, so what are you going to do with this little piece of whale? He said, don't worry, I have my pockets full. so you have a pocket. So he said, so how do you eat it now? How do you cook it? So it was explained that it's preferably to get a piece of the blubber and make the oil, and you fry it in the oil to make, so you dove it. So he says, okay, I'm going back for a piece of that. So he went right back, got a piece of blubber, brought it ashore, and got his whale cooked.
Yeah, you see, they're very interested in our unique, we don't uniqueness of this whaling. Not a lot of, we're the only country in the Caribbean actually that does it.
We're
And-
only one of 4 countries that
Right.
are allowed to catch whales.
Right, and
Legally.
they find it very interesting. It's like, oh my God, I haven't seen this nowhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And they say to us, well, we need to preserve our culture. That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
As a tour guide first, and I experienced this, they say, we need to preserve our culture. Bequia is very unique, so we need to preserve this. So I explained to them, I said, when you come to our country, we expect you to respect our traditions as when we come to your country, we will respect your traditions. I make sure that first thing I just tell them. Yeah, I tell them that because we can't go in their country and just do as we feel, please.
I
can't
think
do that.
those who condemn it and are trying to destroy it have their own personal agenda,
Yeah,
and their
money
agenda
involved.
very likely has financial
Of course.
implications.
Yeah.
If I may add to what you just said, Mr. B, and no doubt, if you listen to those who are against it, they often say they will move away from catching whale to whale watching,
Yes.
which is implicating financial benefit. But the question is financial benefit for who?
I would want to comment on that because we have discussed that extensively at the Aboriginal Subsistence Whaling Working Group, where it was felt that there were conflicts between the whale watchers and whalers. Well, the working group have not yet seen the conflicts that were spoken about.
Right.
Because I indicated earlier that I am of the opinion that some of the cruise ships that were here recently are presently heading north. They're either going up to Greenland, Iceland area or going up to Alaska where they're hunting
Where
whales.
whales are being
And
hunted.
they're doing tourism there also. So the reason for going there is because they have large bookings to
Right.
go there, take tourists. They're not going to go at a loss. But nobody tell them don't bring the tourists to our country because we catch whale here.
Right.
Any tourist that worth their dollar would have researched where they're going for their vacation. And in researching St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if you have done a good job of it, you would have noticed that we are a whaling nation. And the chances are between February and April, a whale would be caught.
Will be caught.
So you may well be in the midst of the processing of a whale. So don't tell me that you have suddenly arrived here and
Yes.
say, oh, they got a whale and it's
Catch
bloody and
us.
it's gory. I'm
Right.
going back home. And I spent $28,000 on a yacht and therefore I'm not sending back my family there because they caught a whale.
That is rubbish.
I am convinced that there was no Vincentian captain on that boat. It was not a yacht that was owned by a Vincentian company.
Thank you
And
very
that
much.
money, taxes were not paid in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on that $28,000. And the money that they spent to buy food and drink is nowhere near no $28,000 that he's boasting about. So therefore, I don't think we have suffered any losses.
Thank you, because that 20,000 of that 28 might have been their plane ticket and their hotel ticket coming across the islands.
We have
We
another
welcome,
issue.
we
Yeah.
welcome you,
We're not
but
against
don't
that.
abuse us
We have
But now-
another-
because might is not right.
Now let
we
me
have another voice note.
just
Sado.
just before you
Okay,
go
alright,
there,
right.
you know, like some of those who want to argue about the catching of the whale, and they will try to use morality, and they
Yes.
say, we're catching the baby whales. If
Yeah.
we catch the whale, the baby will die. Think words of that effect. But you get it a lot from Americans and from Germans and so on. But the question is, we catch a baby whale, which is still food.
Yeah.
But we have countries that are legalizing the murdering of
Of
human
children.
babies.
Children.
And it's telling me I can't kill a baby whale.
Even at final stage.
Right.
Yeah.
So United States, for instance, legalized up to the point of birth. Right? I mean, they called Trump out on a name when he said it, but it was true. And then an American will come and tell me I shouldn't catch the baby whales because I shouldn't catch the whale because the baby this and the baby that. Like, seriously.
But Mr. Leach, I want to reinforce here, and I don't want anybody to get misconception. The whalers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Bequia in particular now, they adhere to very rigid regulations laid down by the International Whaling Commission.
Yeah.
And they told us that we should not catch a whale under 30 feet in length. And the
Wonderful.
question I asked them at the meeting, how do I measure it? Does
Well,
a
it's
whale
the
stay
water.
there for me to come
Right.
and tell it, oh, you're 27 feet or you're not 30 feet?
Right.
We have to abide by that because our men use their judgment. And because we know that our boats are 27 feet in length,
Once it's
the
done,
whalers are able to sail up next to the calf whale
Right.
and judge the length to make sure that it does not fall below the criteria given. They also tell us that the mother should not be lactating. And I asked the question, does a whale wait for a whaler to come over and squeeze the bubby? And I was rude enough to say Does a whale wait for a man to squeeze the bobby to see if he have milk? Well, how do I determine that?
That's a good question.
The question, the other thing is, we're told we're not supposed to catch whales traveling in packs.
Right.
And our men do not follow them. If it's a single whale, they follow you. In the instance of this last whale, they caught 2 whales. But because the proponent of the anti-whaler wants to get at our men, she can't call it a calf whale,
Right.
but she can call it they break the rules. Because for the life of me, I can't understand, and if I'm misquoting, I can't understand how one whaleboat, at first it was no whaleboats were in the picture.
No way, that's it.
It was only speedboats, so no whaleboats in the picture.
Right.
Hold on.
But then
It even went further. Wait, sorry.
Then it changed to how can one whaleboat catch 2 adult whales? Well, I'm afraid, lady, you know absolutely nothing about whaling in the country in which you were born. Or you grew up. Because if you were there and if you understand the process, you would have known that as soon as the first whale was dead, it was transferred to the speedboat to take it to the shore. And the whale boat harpooned and continued to pursue to capture the second whale.
Right.
I was
it
told.
was absolutely necessary to catch the second whale and bring it home, in my opinion, because it would have died. The whales, having been a couple, let me put it that way, swam together, and because the female was harpooned first, the male traditionally and was demonstrated attacked the boat. And in order to defend themselves, the whalers had to lance the male.
Mr. B.
And in the process of lancing it, it began to bleed seriously, and it was necessary to take the second whale.
I could second your point because my cousin is one of the diver. A matter of fact, he's the diver who is responsible for sewing up the whale mouth. And he said to me, it was one of the most dangerous times
Because the male was attacking them.
and
Yep.
he's in the Salt Lake newspaper. It's my
Yes.
cousin Kenrick, and he said to us, and he was just giving us just a few minutes before we called him. He called back and said he can't go to the whale as yet because the male whale now was taking its fins,
Tail.
its tail, and
Yeah.
start to slap on the female back, trying to take out the iron. So he had to wait at least 2 more hours for them to control the female whale for the dead, and then they had to now try to fend off them. They had to defend themselves, not fend off, defend themselves, because one instance he called and said that the male whale took the female whale and spin she wrong. I have never seen that. And another instance, the male whale run between the speedboat, the whaleboat, sorry, and the whale, trying to pull out the iron. It was at least it called us 6 to 7 times.
Which is a common practice.
And she was saying that it's inhumane. I don't.
Inhumane.
Yes, I don't know.
Inhumane.
Inhumane.
That's the word she used. I don't
Inhumane is
know.
human.
I don't know where she was born. She wasn't born in Bequia, look like. She sees and hears. She see and hear people saying this. At whaling is a tradition, but I believe that she is saying that it's not possible for them to catch these whales, as Mr. Belmar is saying, in a space of 3 or 4 hours. But
Is this possible?
she have not seen whaling in Bequia, because for that instance, after the first whale had died, Mr. Belmar, that same whale I'm talking about, the male whale, was there at least 3 more hours, not giving up. 3 more hours.
It
trying to-
followed the female everywhere.
and I'm talking about, and for those who are listening, between Illicat and Rami, the strike the force was between Illicat, and he fight until he got up under Adams Beach, fight until he got up between Pitilives and Illicat, fight until he got up between, trying to carry she back out. But when he realized, after they tried to fend him out, they fend him out for 3 hours, 3 full hours.
The whale.
They caught the whale after 11, and they caught the male whale after 4. So that tells me that all the activities. She can say that it's not possible. Miss Mitchell, everybody know your name by now. So
Okay, go and name me.
you are making some statements. We know better. Better.
But something was interestingly said to me on our Facebook page, right? I don't know who the guy is. The gentleman said that he has video proof of one of the fishermen or one of the guys who were on the speedboat who took a firearm and shoot the whale to kill it. It was not harpoon, because in the video there was no sign of a whaleboat. There was only speedboat around, and they took the firearm and shoot the whale.
Rick, I would like you to take, before you leave, some photographs from this document and post it online
I will
to show
definitely
that
do
we are not unique.
What I saw,
Because the International Whaling Commission supports the movement of the various working groups, or whaling groups, to modify in order to enhance the rate of the speed to death, the time to death.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, the International Whaling Commission has encouraged the use of what is called a Penthryte grenade, which is the modification of the darting gun. The same darting gun that's being used in this picture here, and which we use too. But we have not yet modified our darting gun because it's too expensive. So first of all, the darting gun has to be modified, and then the cost of the grenade is 1,000 and in some cases 1,025 US dollars per grenade. So the cost is prohibitive.
Wait.
Therefore, our whalers continue to use the traditional methods of killing the whale, and that does not offend the International Whaling Commission. I want to read.
You know why we these, I mean, I don't want to sound like if I'm going far-fetched, but you know why these whalers can't afford these things? Because, first of all, how many of us are even making that sort of money
Yes.
monthly?
No,
I mean, come
And
on.
secondly,
economically, it's not
understanding secondly,
Yeah.
that the whalers, most of them, are regular fishermen.
Exactly.
And they sacrifice 3 months of their regular lobster or conch season, or
yeah.
fishing season to go whaling. And if, as I quoted earlier, several years go by and you don't catch a whale, you have sacrificed your earnings for 3 months.
I could attest, Mr. B, right now, perseverance is, as you know, is down because of it won't be pays.
It got bilged or punched
2
in
times.
2 places
It's my uncle again.
during the last week.
And he's saying right now he don't have the money yet
to repair it.
to repair the boat. So then we don't have what kind of gun they say? It's
Darting gun with a Penthryte grenade.
yeah.
that is very expensive, Mr. B. And that he have to do that repair on his own. That's so much $1,000 they have to take out. Mr. B, no boat building. Have to take
So
out
the use of a Penthryte grenade is no invention of Bequia people, you know.
No.
It's the International Whaling Commission say let's try to use them because it would kill the whale quickly and it would take less than 20 minutes for it to die.
Okay, someone sent me a message giving me the website as to how must he go about dealing with what we were talking about just a while ago.
Yeah.
Now the person said that make sure I can see it properly. This is just for knowledge sake. The Musty Company is made up of homeowners. Brian Adams is a homeowner. However, there's what we call a small government to deal with the operations, security, rules, and regulation. Hence, the reason for Mr. Adams' action. Without the homeowners, there won't be so much, if not no employment on the island for security to gardeners. So, I don't know.
So I
Should I read it over? Let me read it over because I want to make
let
sure.
us salute the new Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Brian Adams.
Yes.
So,
And if I have a champagne, I'll take a toast to him now.
Let's give him applause.
I'll drink a
I
toast.
think, Mr. Rick, let me just interject. interject on what you read there, right? Mr. Adams, who consider himself a hero for the whales, I don't think he's no hero. He's a fool. Point blank. You just don't want to go and put yourself in danger, so you're protecting the whales and put your hand on the whalerman's boat and whatever. I mean, you are invading the whalers' privacy. Basically, you're touching their property. Nobody can come over, must can go on your property just like that. You understand what I'm saying? So I think he's real dumb in doing that. Number two, Rick, let me just stray a little bit from the Brian Adams thing. I know Miss Mitchell then wanted people to invest in whale watching, get boats and to invest in whale watching. No, I'm going again from my tour guiding background. I would take you out, Mr. Belmar, in a boat to do whale watching.
Right.
I charge you $100 and we go out. We spend a couple hours. We don't see no whale. I would be upset because I ain't see no whale.
But the men were told if you don't see whales, you can look at birds.
Really, no.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense. And thirdly, as I think I sent a voice note earlier on, but thirdly, they talk about killing of animals and da. Who advocate for the cow, the sheep, the goat, the pig, the chicken? Who advocate for them? You
Yes,
understand?
that same question.
I think we have a
earlier,
caller.
and we didn't really answer.
We have a caller.
Yes.
Alright, so we'll entertain the caller. Yes. Yeah. Hello, good afternoon. Good night.
Hello. Yes, I'm listening to your discussion there, man.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
And I have a question.
Go ahead with the question.
Yes. Concerning these people who are advocating whale watching as a means of making a livelihood and comparing it with activities on Dominica. There's one thing I'd like them to know. The waters around Dominica are different from the waters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And they're
If
resident,
you
they're
can
resident
fly
acts of
3,000 feet high and you're seeing the bottom of the sea and a lot of the Grenadine Islands. The waters of Dominica are very deep and some whales will keep close to the shore. They can afford to do that.
Yes.
But what is interesting about St. Vincent and the Grenadines is the marine traffic. The marine traffic is so great and large in St. Vincent and the Grenadines waters that whales do not spend any time around here at all.
And that's a fact.
So it says a no-no when they talk about watching. And the few people who band themselves together, who have the boat, who claim they're only doing that for fun, they can afford to live. Our tradition should not die
I agree 100%.
because of a few people who come in. And let me tell you all this. I have been to the forefront in these islands in tourism for a long time. And the people who come here, you read the book, they love our culture. The two things that remain with us is the boat building industry and whaling. They love the culture.
Yeah.
They love to see how the people in the Grenadines live. They are marvelous people. On the hills, blows, and they love it. But soon as they settle in here and they own a piece of real estate, they turn against us. Some of them. And we have to watch this and guard it carefully.
Very carefully, yes.
Carefully.
We've got to be mindful
Concerning that situation with respect to Mustique, it is, we see something brewing here, which God forbid, it is going to become a very, very dangerous situation. We cannot and should not allow a state within a state. And
That's the
a lot
point.
of you, there are certain things
That's
I
a
can't
very good
state
statement.
here. But when island people, because years ago when I was in Mustique, I know they were advocating to have an armory there, a lot of weapons and so on there to keep. And that was on the Hudson Tunnel. So Robert Milton Kettle was the prime minister at the time, and so on. And we went against it for obvious reasons, because we knew that time to come we are going to have problem within the state, and we have to be careful when we are doing, when legislations are made, when we are granting, because I heard they're talking about contribution of money. We cannot sell our birthright and our soul to just because some people are given a few dollars or so on, because in the long run they're taking out more from us. We have seen the destruction of tourism.
I know I see you again. I give you some time, so don't be long.
We are not collecting because the technique used hard to collect taxes from them.
Hello.
Yes.
We missed probably what? About 5 seconds?
Yeah.
10 seconds about certain things you were saying. Yeah, after Mr. Milton Keto. Yes.
Yeah, I just came in a while ago and I heard you all this.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, so if you can repeat from there, that would be so good, you know.
Yeah, I was saying that we have got to be very careful when legislation, and we have to see the fine prints when legislations are made to give these people all sort of rights and leeways over the local inhabitants.
Thank you.
When lands are being sold for developmental purposes.
Yep.
Because we find ourselves selling our birthright and our soul for $1, and they leave us. We become slave in our own country, and we got to be very careful.
Again.
You know, and we are fighting
again. Yes. And maybe this incident with Brian Adams may have opened up our eyes to something that we have not, a lot of us were not aware of. Some have not paid attention to, because now that this is raised, and as you are making the point,
that's all I say for the moment. Your carry on, Smarty.
Thank you
All
very much.
right, thank you.
Dennis.
Yes.
Okay.
Now that that point is raised about the legislation that are being made, maybe someone, relevant authorities, need to start looking into the leeways that, because basically, if we think about it, it means Mustique is really a state within a state.
Yeah. Yes, the thing is, there are two things I want to comment on. Is a half-answered questions about the who is responsible and who kills the sheep and so on and so forth.
Right.
Because
who killed the sheep?
You're right. No, we didn't drag the sheep this time. But somebody have to kill the sheep to eat it. But my answer to that is, every single thing that we consume, very very small percentage, we kill everything. If it's a bean, you cook it.
Thank you very much.
Everything that is cooked is killed before we eat it. So it's not just
even the plant life.
Thank you.
But it's a potato, it's a bean, it's corn. You kill it by putting it in the pot.
Thank you.
Some don't bleed, but some give off juices.
Right. So we consider bleed differently.
Pick a breadfruit off the tree and put it in your pocket.
So we consider bleed differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I believe that they're thinking that all Vincentians eat chicken.
Well,
I'll come to that point.
Before you go there,
all Vincentians eat. Well, it looks like it's a fishing.
What I think these people believe, because maybe let's say we are not, some of us are not highly educated.
Yes.
Some people come here with their degrees and their master's degree and their PhDs and such like. So it somehow gives them the
PhD could also mean post-hole digger.
Well, there we go. Say that again, Mr. B.
Pine Hill Dairy.
Because I am familiar that these days you could even buy your education by enemy pay for it. You get the certificate that you pay for. Now, if we even look back into that, and people want to figure because they have a degree, they could talk down to you and tell you, well, this is what I think, or you are backward.
Yeah.
Now, let me just drop back a bit and ask some real important questions. Who really is responsible for the first degree? Because if you think about it, the person who obtained their first PhD, bachelor's degree, somebody has to give it to them.
Yeah.
And then if we have to think about it, who gave it to them? So
Within
to start
source
with,
of knowledge.
it has somehow had to be enforced, self-acclaimed, and then passed on.
Yeah.
So it may not mean that you know more than me. You may have been more exposed to knowledge than I am. So you don't think because you come here to a people, slave children per se, and let's not forget, most of us, even the Caucasians, were at some point a slave tribe.
Yep.
So nobody ain't better off than nobody in this case.
Mr. Leach,
Yes,
I want
sir.
to go back a bit on the whale watching thing. Because I am firmly fixed in my mind that if somebody wants to do whale watching, you could go do whale watching. It's a
Wonderful.
capitalist society we're living in. Even Bernie Sanders, who says he's a socialist,
Right.
has made himself a millionaire from doing a capital activity, writing a book and selling it.
There we go.
Go again,
So-
Mr. B. Go again. Go again.
There we go.
Again, Mr. Bernie Sanders.
Yes. So he's now a millionaire. He criticized billionaires and millionaires, but now he's a millionaire.
You hear that?
From selling a book. He has his book rights, he has his knowledge, he has his degrees.
There we go.
But you're becoming a capitalist with a socialist
With a
mentality.
socialist mentality.
Now, whale watching and whale hunting, if we're in a capitalist world where if you figure that we're not making enough money, because this is a projection, you can make far more money, we're told, out of whale watching than whale hunting.
I don't even
Right.
see how that is
Now,
possible.
the question is, go watch your, sorry, not the question, but the statement is, go watch your whale and I will hunt my whale.
Correct.
I
Thank
have
you.
a problem.
Correct. Correct.
Just stay out of my way when I hunted my whale, as
Correct.
we would have
Stay
liked
out.
Brian Adams to do.
Right.
Stay out of my whale and go west of Mustique and watch your whale while I hunted east of Mustique.
Well, no.
I
There we
have
go.
no problem.
They could watch while we hunt.
But
Well,
exactly.
somebody
So
said, hey, Mr. Belmar,
it's
Brian
cooperation.
Adams, the person said, Brian Adams' hit song has been forgotten.
Yeah.
So he's just trying this to get back in the public's eye.
Okay.
I think that Adams and Louise are pulling publicity stunt. The American whom he said did the video clip willfully admitted videoing the whole boat to try to straighten their plea. Sorry, the whale boat to try to straighten their plea. Mr. Root mentioned that there was about 15 speedboats,
There were 14. I counted them.
and well, he's saying
They were not
15.
all involved in whaling. Some of them had the tanks ready to dive the whale if it dives.
If it sink.
Others were there prepared to help to tow the whale back to shore. Others were, two of them were involved in assisting with the killing of the whale. I'm not ashamed of that.
And Mr.
And
B.
they said, and just to finish the statement, they said that, and the whale boat was nowhere in sight, which is a big lie.
Liar.
Somebody had a video posted on Facebook,
Yes.
and I saw the whaling boat. That's the first time I actually saw that. And I saw when the whale pulling the boat, I'm like, wow, this is so dangerous. They have no idea how dangerous this is to preserve our tradition and our culture. And the whale starts pulling the boat, and then they drop the sail. I think.
Exactly.
Full speed.
When they drop the sail is when the whale strike, and they drop the sail, and that is how the thing begin.
Apart from Mr. Belmar, right? Have anybody really see how this whole thing unfold? Mr. Leach?
No, I don't think these guys on this
No,
side would have seen.
It's not just as Miss Louise. It's fun because I know all people in Project Farm don't sleep from February until May late on the bed.
Every day you wake up with one thing in mind when you look out at the sunrise. Am I going to see a whale?
Yeah. And Mr. B, this is where I learned to know my different places in Project Farm. Monkey Hill, Bed Flat. I learned all these places through whaling because many times I see me come home with a scrape on my hand, a scrape on my face because I have to run between both. Just because if I show, I was saying earlier, I show my coworker the fun of it and the danger of it, and it's so dangerous that Mr. Bigon no, and I don't think anybody else. Anybody else on the panel? You all realize that every whaleman has to have a knife, in either his waist or on his foot.
To cut the rope in case
In the event of their
You see how dangerous it is? Every whaleman have his place in a whaleboat.
Yes.
Every whaleman have to be alert and knowing what is happening. So we just going out and just one man killing. No, it's not just that. It's very.
Danny, I have been on the scene. I've been next to whaleboats. I've been between whaleboats. I've towed the whale back to Pitty Nevis and elsewhere. I know what happens. But last week I had to take photographs again of the congestion, the confusion of ropes in the whaleboat when it came back to shore. I cannot for the life of me understand how 6 men can keep their limbs intact while that volume of rope is running at 20-25 miles an hour out of the boat around the legs and the arms, and they come back with everything intact.
Yeah,
It is mind-boggling to know how they operate within this little 26-27 foot boat with over 600-800 yards of rope running to and from inside there, and sharp harpoons, knives, lances, bombs, all sort of stuff.
Somebody was making a comment here. They said 2 whales a year. Honestly, 4 per year is too much. Or switch them up. 1 year 4, the next year take a break. If 3 years straight without catching anything, then the 4th year 4 or 5. Then they said the 5th year take a break.
No,
I disagree with every year 4. Who wanted to be stopped could kiss my beep.
Okay.
That's what somebody said?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me respond to that, please, because I respect the person's opinion. We're in a civilized world. We have to respect each other and be tolerant of each other.
That's correct.
But I want to make a statement here. We had 2 whales last week on the island. I'm messing up my documents a little. Okay. One was 42 feet and the other one 35 feet or 36 feet. Now, on the average, the 42-foot whale would have yielded approximately 94,080 pounds.
How much?
What? The 35-foot whale would have yielded 80,640 pounds.
Wow.
28 feet boat, right?
So, we are having a total of 2 whales of 174,720 pounds on the island. If we take an average of about 40% of that whale, which is small, it might be up to about 60%. 40% of that weight in manageable, edible meat and blubber, we would have had 69,888 pounds of edible whale meat on Sample Key 2 weeks ago.
Go back over how
Now,
much again?
I am saying to you that in less than 8 hours, 69,000 pounds of meat disappeared.
Yes.
With mean half of the island in sea.
And there are many people who are telling you, I ain't getting a whale.
Me.
I know people went to the island and they couldn't get any to buy.
I don't have any.
Tell me for the likes of me, if you see night trading bringing a shipment of chicken or beef at 69,000 pounds on one weekend, what you would think? They're gone crazy.
Yeah.
If you see a man go in by night trading or CK Graves and come out with a sack with 300 pounds of beef in it, you would wonder who you going to feed, what wedding or what sacrifice he making, because that is going to spoil. But we have seen that 69,000 pounds of meat disappeared. We've seen people carrying sacks of 300-400 pounds of whale at any one time, which is an indicator that no other meat is eaten as regularly and as in higher demand in St. Vincent and the Grenadines than whale meat.
Yep.
So you tell me that we can't process 4 whales.
So statistically, what you're saying, Mr.
The statistics are here.
Is that to say 4 whale is too much? It's not true.
It's not true.
Because based on the statistic, it's not even enough if you have to consider what we're
Look,
catching.
it was said by those who try to attack us that the piece of the whale spoil. A lot of the whale spoil. Piece of the whale get spoiled good. Piece of the whale got away. At sunset, when I stayed at home with my binoculars and I couldn't see the person anymore, but I counted 7 persons on the whale cutting and filling the bags until the sun disappeared. I
Sunset.
couldn't see them anymore. And I looked at the whale and I said, if they don't tie that whale overnight, it's going to go away with the high tide. I woke up next morning, I took my binoculars, and the whale was gone. So the belly section, the ginger roll, as we know it, was gone. The whalers tracked the grease track and found the whale heading towards Western Key, the balance of the whale.
I saw it that morning.
They brought it back to shore and processed every last piece of it, including the bones.
So when they say
None
spoiled.
wasted. So don't come tell me some spoil and you throw it away and it's too much. You're making joke. You
But-
never see whale
so we have a
process yet.
just before you, but let's just say PC whale spoil. Given any kind of meat we just eat, don't they spoil it?
Oh yes.
So what is the crime?
The documents I have before me also shows a category that's called stinky whales. And the International Whaling Commission makes provision. So if you catch a stinky whale, that's a whale that is not good enough to eat.
Right.
You have the right to take another one to replace that one. So the stinky whales are catered for even at the International Whaling Commission. So I am not talking glibly, you know.
Thank you.
I'm not talking because I have emotions and sentiments because I cut my teeth on a whale. And I probably drank whale milk. I didn't feel it, Bobby.
The man is talking from facts and statistics.
In any
I'm
case,
supposed to play. I'm
Let me
supposed
check.
to play some voice note here.
you have a voice note because I still want to come back to that whale watching thing.
Yes, we need to. Yes, 3 voice notes came in. Alright, so I want to play them. And then Rick was trying to get in, but because we had the other caller,
Yes.
we didn't get him.
Okay.
So I will try to get on to him just after we finish playing his voice notes. Alright? So, the first voice note. Let me take off mute.
Right, so good evening everyone. Yes, I'm tuned in. I am listening. Hi, Mr. Belmar. My take on this, right? I think that Brian Adams need to be called to justice, answer his consequences, because after all, we have an international whaling license from the IWC and we're still doing traditional whaling. So he putting himself in the way between a harpoon and a boat, that obstruction of legal activities. He needs to be brought to justice. My other question, why wasn't the public aware that Mystique has boundaries? The same people who is criticizing our whaling tradition and trying to stop it is the same set of people who made the turtles ban. And we all know we have a season for these things, and all these foreigners and these lobbyists need to be stopped and put in their place.
Now, I want to say something. That person, I really admire your gumption. Thanks for speaking out honestly. Now, I again want to say that our whalers are so tolerant that we allow things to get away. Because the very people who are attacking us for going within St. Vincent waters to catch whale, in Mystique waters, should have been the ones to help to educate and inform the whalers about these possible problems. Because I know there were meetings in Paddy Farm at the community center where all the whalers were invited, and they had all these seminars to try to influence them into doing whale watching. While they should have taken time off also to bring the regulations, the act, the stipulations that limit the whalers within Mustique waters to the attention of the whalers. But that's not the point I want to drive at. From day one, there were the problem of whalers going to Mustique never existed.
Never.
Mustique,
That is true.
never.
Never.
Mustique had their own whaleboats at one time.
Mr. Wait,
Repeat that again.
Let me hear that again.
Go
Mr.
back and talk to the older person and find out that the indigenous Musticans operated their own whaleboat. It was a white boat.
So, remember, I was in Mustique for a few months. My father and my mother met there in Mustique. Much people wonder that, eh?
And
Yes.
to add to that, each whaling operation, because there were several of them, had their preferred lookout site. Baliso, St. Hilary, Mustique, Rame, and so on and so forth. So each boat had their preferred lookout place. Now the whalers that went to Mustique had a lookout hill up in Mustique that they went to every whaling season.
That is, let me try. And that's in village, right? That's up in the village of Mustique.
Up in the village, up on top, where the
Mustique-
whalers went to look out.
Those who in Mustique know what I'm talking about. We call
They
it village.
had their vantage point where they can see all around to the south and to the east and to the north of Mustique to see if whales are coming up, are blowing. And they pursued whale very often from there. So they would sail to Mustique, take the sails down, catch the fish on the way, take the bucket from the boat and make the fish broth, and do all the lookout from on top of Mustique Hill. When whale watching was made known, the Mustique people or the Mustique company or whoever is responsible suddenly informed the whalers they could not go back to the lookout hill.
Unfair.
They were banned from looking out from Mustique, and they were doing that since the 1860s. Now
Unfair.
that is an infringement of the United Nations Indigenous Peoples' Rights.
So that is in law.
The indigenous rights of people?
Yes, please.
If you withdraw a man's indigenous rights to occupy and to pursue for legitimate reasons his livelihood, it ought to be addressed and can be addressed to the United Nations.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
go back to leaving them alone and going back to this whale watching. Since Mr. Leach stepped out, I know he's been jumping on me all the time and cutting me short, but I want to say something.
Yes.
If people want to watch whale and make your money. But the question I'm asking, who makes the money from whale watching?
Yes. Oh.
If you have a whale watching operation with a nice fancy powerboat and hydrophones and life jackets and safety gear and all sorts of stuff, how many people would you require to operate such a boat?
You need a staff?
But you would not, in my opinion, need more than 3 or 4 persons.
No.
So, if you can operate with 2 persons, it becomes a family operation. Or if it becomes 4 persons, the likelihood would be that it's going to be another expatriate who has the capital that's available to buy that equipment on boat that would run that operation and hire 2 or 3 persons to make it happen.
Cost is going to be really expensive.
If that is the case, how would the whalers, the whaling families, and the whaling community benefit from whale watching?
Obviously, they won't.
It is clear cut
You think
that the people who are going to benefit are the 3 or 4 persons who can afford to either work as crew or own these property, and the likelihood that the boats would not be owned by Vincentians is greater than great. So I want to say again, let the capitalists that want to invest in whale watching, invest in whale watching. But stay away from us when we're catching our whale.
Okay, Rickson's online. Rickson's live now. Let us accommodate him. Hey, Rickson.
Yes, sir.
Welcome,
Yes.
welcome, Rix, and I hope you're not eating any whale now.
Are you hearing us?
My mouth still full.
So good evening to you and welcome to Light FM.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, Rick.
So you have a lot of persons listening you in studio and on Light FM radio station. So I saw you made a post on Facebook regarding the whaling, which I believe it really struck you as an individual, as a native of Bequia. Can you tell us in a clean way? Because I know you can sometimes, flip the script.
Clean, Rickson,
Yes,
clean.
clean way. What is your thoughts about this whole situation about this whaling in Bequia?
Well, before the whole incident concerning the two individuals, I didn't really have any thoughts on the subject. I just thought of it as a cultural
A tradition.
experience where,
Yeah.
every year everyone will indulge themselves in the event of whaling until some people started to say, well, it is wrong. So I tried to look at it from the point of view, and I still can't see in which way we are a problem, we are impacting species in a negative fashion. From a statistic point of view, we hardly catch whale. 10 years, within 10 years, we might catch about 5.
Well, you're close to the statistics that Mr. Belmar mentioned, because 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. So for you to make an argument that we are probably barbaric to the species, it just don't match the facts. So that doesn't get me off.
Yeah. They're throwing reason to the wind.
Yep. Rickson, I don't know if you knew, some years ago, they had some sort of, what you call it, some sort of program they had overseas where some folks from Bequia went to this whale watching program.
And I think they end up and sold one of them sell them boat or something like that.
I mean,
They got the boat, they got money for the boat. Something like that I heard. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard.
yeah, so,
If I am not sure, but I did heard of a rumor that someone stole a whale boat. I don't know if they was in old, but who could speculate?
That's not a rumor or speculation. That boat was bought from Arsenal Olivier, commonly known as Balaam, and it is now the property of the Bequia Heritage Foundation. It was given to the Bequia Heritage Foundation for us to manage as a whale boat.
Money was paid for it.
We didn't buy it.
Yeah, but and then on the flip side,
But it was given to us.
yeah, but and also on the flip side, you could say that the person who sold the boat, son, continues his traditional habit.
And he refused to be bribed.
exactly.
Thank you very much.
Because I think he's the one who caught the
That's
first
why this
whale.
is.
Wasn't him who
Correct.
caught the first whale?
I believe so. And
That is what I understand.
That he is seriously considering building his own whaleboat.
Wow. Someone told me today that they see this tradition a dying tradition, because of that is what two individuals told me right in the harbor when I was making my way to the studio, because the young generation is not taking up the art of whaling, and I said that is not true.
They need to stop and think again, because the oldest person that's whaling now is the captain of the Kingsley's boat. What's his name again? Not confusion. Prosecution.
Prosecution.
And he is somewhere in his late 60s, early 70s.
They in perseverance. The youngest
I tried to make that point.
Sorry, go ahead, Rickson.
I tried to make that point to one of the captains the other day that when they group up down the road, wherever they group up in the morning to go whaling, I used to tell them that they should get some younger guys to hold the harpoon at least straight, because when they gone, somebody needs to take up their position.
Rickson.
But you have some, and that is in Kingsley, both I think.
Yeah,
I did mention that too.
In perseverance, right? I don't know if you realize that they have young people. My cousin.
I was about to say that. I was about to say that too. Yes.
Ken goes out. Lenin is all in the late 30s, so that's not going down. In Kingsley boat, they have his son goes also in his early 20s, so it's not dying.
It's more young people are involved now than has ever been.
And if you realize that on this
I don't look, that is the only thing that's gonna stop us, you know. When we run out of human being
resources, human resources.
Actually, you're so correct.
Yeah.
And from the statistics, Bequia, the natives, we are not dropping in population. I think we are growing. You know, so to say that this is gonna end at some point, it is really, unless, as someone was asking a question, what is the government's point of view with this whole situation?
They could branch out in so many different. You see this whole thing?
Go ahead, Rick.
You will and they could branch out in so many different arguments. Because when before you even start wailing, why you figure it is wrong? You're not an active person in the community. You don't have a mutual ground. One of the person who is actually the activist against this whale is a vegan. The next one is a part of a society that don't ever associate themselves with the middle class and the lesser of us. So you don't have no mutual ground for start the argument now. I can understand if a guy like Kingsley bring up the argument that whale hunting is wrong. Then you can say, okay, then these guys are in the substance of things. But these people who are just popping up out the blues, it's just like the farmer organization. And I be cat and as they reach back with and say, okay, we got to attack the island over there. You understand? There's nothing really.
I think.
So I don't understand. People don't,
so right.
you know?
Go ahead. We're listening.
The fittest people to make the argument are not the people who is making the argument. You know? I can't pin. So it's almost like a mean story. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of you arguing against the whale in that way? When there's some other things affecting the people that I can't hear your voice on. So why you pick whaling? Then they try to threaten us with tourism. Why? Tourists could drop off the road, just trying to get to the boat to go watch a good whale watching because it's bad. We hear nothing at the subject.
But the stupid thing is, if you take a tourist in rough waters in a small boat to go whale watching and something happens, St. Vincent and the Grenadines would be seriously impacted.
Yep.
By offering something to tourists that is not safe.
I was going to ask a question, Mr. B. So if anything happens to a tourist who's in these boat that whale watching, we are going to be.
You better have insurance for your boat.
Yep. Somebody saying, listen, this right?
It's a lot of things.
Saying, somebody saying this, right? Tell Mr. B that I am suggesting that he get the reporter who did the article with Mr. Adams to come and interview the whalers who were on the boat on that day. He claimed he used his body as a shield. I think the article is one-sided and the other side must be told. Sorry. The person sent me a link, but I didn't open it as yet. I don't know if you saw that link, but the story was picked up by that agency. So that's why I am lobbying for the other side of the story to be published. I want to know as well, what are the views of our constituency rep on this matter? You need to get him on your program.
I think you've got some very, very good points there. I think we need to possibly follow up on that. It will be interesting to see that reporter come and do some